Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we are being joined by Christina Major, author of the upcoming book, Health Blogs Done Right, Getting Sales from Your Blogs and Articles. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given was just do it. Get over yourself. It's not going to be perfect. You're always going to find little things you could do better, but done, not perfect. Many years ago, when I first started my business, I was part of a radio show where I taught about different foods. And it was an award-winning show, national awards for radio excellence. And I realized that rather than spending hours perfecting my pieces, I could spend just a little bit of time, but as long as I was excited and I made it interesting, people loved it. So getting it done, but don't worry about perfection.
Yeah, there's two mantras I always teach my clients. One is done is better than perfect, and don't be afraid to take the plunge. Just get it out there.
Yes.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think actually putting myself out there is the hardest part. Being exposed for other people to critique, whether good or bad, but just hearing that. And for me, it's very embarrassing when people start talking about it. I feel the same way many health coaches and doctors feel is we all know what we're talking about, and we're all very confident when we help people. But to have other people praise us or even put us down, it's very humbling, and it's very shocking to hear. And I think the hardest part is knowing that we're going to be sticking our necks out by doing all this writing, and people are going to talk about us.
Yeah, I think that can be one of the biggest challenges. I know with my first book, I was scared about putting it out there because it was a very raw look at some of my struggles with weight over the years. And I was like, wow, what if some people don't like it? But I was like, you know what? I just want to have the philosophy of the power of one. And what that means is if I can just help one person with this book, then this entire journey was worth it. And the great thing is 90% of the time, it's going to be positive reviews. It's very rare that you are going to get any type of negativity, but it's tough. And I think a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome because they think, well, I'm not an expert or I should be doing a book. Well, the thing is, if you have a story to share, then clearly you are an expert, and just getting that book out there really is the main thing because the responses are going to be a lot more positive than you realize once you get the book out there.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your previous book launches that has worked well.
I love LinkedIn. I think for the people that I help, LinkedIn is one of the best places. I talk to my existing connections. I talk to my new connections, groups especially. Just putting the information out there gets so many people's eyes that I would never normally connect with. I don't do ads or anything like that. I just talk with people, and it's a conversation. It's not one of these sales spams that come out and say, "Here, buy my book." I think this is. I approach people saying, "This I think might help you." this is some of the things I went through. This is some of the things my clients went through, and I can see you're going through it. And just having that conversation is so big for me.
So how are you having these conversations? Are you doing a post and then someone comments on it and then you're having a conversation via messaging, or what is your communication strategy?
I start with a post on my regular timeline and then share it to the groups. People comment, and then we start a short conversation that way. And then oftentimes we take it to the messaging system and then just talk back and forth a little bit.
Now
people seem to really enjoy just talking without being sold.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much selling anymore that people shut down. So I like the conversation, letting people tell me what they enjoy and then how I can help them.
So were you utilizing this in different LinkedIn groups you mentioned? Is that right?
Yes. One of the groups I belong to for health and wellness professionals has over 46,000 members. So I'll post my ideas and my publishings to that sort of group, and I get a lot of comments. I get a lot of people talking about what's going on, what they agree with, what they disagree with, and we can just get a good conversation going.
And typically, what were some of these conversation starters that you utilized as part of your strategy?
One of the posts I made on LinkedIn was how to tell if a freelancer that a health professional wants to employ is actually someone that will help their business. And one of my premises is, if somebody is writing in the health and wellness field, they ought to have some sort of education and experience to be able to talk both to customers and professionals. And I have a master's degree in nutrition, so I know that very well. And I've coached people in nutrition for 8 years, so I know both sides of the story. And I can go into the really deep science and understand it, and then share it with everybody so they can understand the very simple topics. One of the articles I just wrote for one of my clients talks about the sodium-potassium pump in our neurological system to help maintain the balance of electrolytes and fluids. This is a very complex topic with a lot of chemicals, a lot of intricacies. But just sharing it with people, talking about hoses and water pumps and balloons in order to make sure that they understand that there's pressure from being pumped, that it's a one-way system. Just helps people really understand, in simple terms, what's going on. And then they can use some of the dietary advice and supplement information to control that system and be healthier, more active, and more energetic. So going back to the whole freelancing, you have to have somebody who can read the science and understand it in order to translate it for people. And I think that's one of the things most professionals in the health field agree on. If you don't know what you're talking about, all you're going to do is repeat some of the stuff that you find online, and so much of it is wrong.
Absolutely. So I can totally see that communication strategy and then building a connection with messaging, and then potentially either working with them or possibly sending them in the direction of your book.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
I really don't have a favorite book. My favorite business author is Dan Kennedy, and I like how he doesn't blow smoke at anybody. He's very articulate in his books, but there's no fluff. And some of the things presents are very uncomfortable, and working through some of that discomfort helps people expand. And it's really helped me understand that some of the ways I'm doing things doesn't work. We can't give everything away. We have to make money. That's the point of a business. And when I came to that understanding, not only did my business increase, but the number of people that I actually helped increased.
Excellent. And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Going back to the first question, done, not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Get it finished. Put it out there, and then you have so much more you can do.
I love that response. Well, Christina, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show today. What is the best way for people to find you online?
My website is crystalholistichealth.com, crystalholistichealth.com. And that will help people understand some of the things that I write and just get a better look at who I am and where I came from.
Well, Christina, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thanks, Paul. You too.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.